a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The run on defensive linemen continues in the 2025 NFL Draft. If we count Jalen Walker as an edge rusher out of Georgia, 7 D linemen in the opening 17 picks of tonight's opening round. The most recent, Joe Lisi at 17th overall. The Bengals drafting Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. We know the Bengals need to prioritize that defense entering 2025. Seems as though they have the offense very well figured out. What can Shamar Stewart bring to Cincy?
And that's the biggest thing. It really transformed his career and his senior season with Mike Elko taking over at the helm with defensive-minded head coach coming from Duke. And again, look at the body style. You know, he can add, again, 15 to 20 pounds of muscle. Is he as athletic as Micah Williams and some of the others? I don't believe so, but he's a plug-and-play type of player. And when you talk about the problems that they have had now with Hendrickson in terms of re-signing him, they need, support on the front seven, and he adds that immediately. He can start week number 1.
18th overall, the Seattle Seahawks now on the clock as we see things here. It looks as though the pick is in. We will confirm that in just a moment. So in the interim, Blue and Cap, of course, we know Cincinnati had to prioritize defense early on here in the 2025 NFL Draft. Where do the Bengals stand on that side of the football entering 2025?
Well, interestingly, they are one of the teams that during free agency were really in the crosshairs of everybody following the NFL. So obviously they've signed Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow are all locked in with huge extensions. The one player that has played out and we don't yet have a resolution to is Trey Hendrickson, who obviously is their lockdown pass rusher. But given the fact that they are going to run into salary cap problems based on the overloaded offense, Shamar Stewart may be a long-term replacement for Trey Hendrickson.
He is. Now, when you really look at it, Texas A&M has put some really good players out for there's no question about it. I mean, they've got a very good program. And the Bengals under Lou Anarumo, their former defensive coordinator, Mike, they were at times not competitive, teams would tell me. Tape was very bad. He got fired. He's now the Colts defensive coordinator. Al Golden is their new defensive coordinator. He used to be Temple's head coach, Miami's. He'd been in the NFL before. So their defense, Mike, has got to be better. They've got their offense right where they want it. This is, by the way, this is a player who's a project, though, that they just drafted. He's super gifted, but you need to have patience with this player. He's gifted, Stuart, but, man, he needs time to develop. People need to be patient with this guy.
Yeah, I think Bengals fans have exhibited a lot of patience with these bad starts that they're having year over year, Ben. It puts them in a hole, and I think a lot of people felt like they were a playoff-worthy team but missed out because of such a terrible start last season. We'll see if Shamar Stewart, project or not, can help them get a couple of wins early next season.
The draft position prop for Stewart out of Texas A&M, 15.5. The over had the juice, so right around this range, that's exactly where Shamar Stewart goes. Speaking of playoff contenders, Blue, the Seattle Seahawks, the only team around the National Football League last year to win double-digit games and miss out on the postseason. They're hoping to change that entering 2025. The Seahawks have made their pick at 18th overall out of North Dakota State. The offensive guard in Gray Zabel makes his way to the Pacific Northwest. We know the powerhouse that NDSU is at the FCS level. Another championship game appearance this past year. Another national championship for the Bison. Gray Zabel, a big reason why. He leaves North Dakota State. He heads to Seattle to try to anchor the interior of the O-line for the Seahawks. What do we need to know about the prospect, Gray Zabel?
Won games, played a multitude of positions as well. He can play tackle, guard, and that's the biggest thing I think on the next level is you have a player that could add depth to that offensive line. And we talk about their new quarterback, Sam Darnold, right? Geno Smith, same way. They couldn't protect him towards the end of the regular season. Pressure in the middle. Zabel's a guy that'll protect Sam Darnold, and when Sam Darnold has a great pocket, he could deliver the football. So that's the way they're going to build this team. Zach Charbonnet is there, and Kenneth Walker as well. He's great in terms of run blocking. North Dakota State have one of the best run offenses in FCS. Great pick for them.
Yeah, we saw Gray Zabel heavily linked to Seattle. I saw one report. It's between Zabel and McMillan, super bold at 18 to have a two-man draft board. Worked out for Seattle. Around a -160 at close to be the 18th pick on DK in their live markets.
When we look at Gray Zabel, guys, as we go back to Blue and Cap, of course, the 18th overall selection, the third ever first-round pick out of North Dakota State, along with Carson Wentz, and, of course, as I'm now blanking on his name, Trey Lance, who went third overall back in 2021. NDSU is a powerhouse, but it's the next level now in the National Football League. Blue and Cap, it's been an offseason of change in the Pacific Northwest. The Seahawks have a new quarterback, of course, in Sam Darnold. How does Gray Zabel fit in to that plan for 2025 for the Hawks?
Yeah, Zabel, the first non-power conference player to go. It's the second out of the last 3 years that North Dakota State is the school to break that streak. Last year, Quinyon Mitchell to the Eagles out of the MAC was the first one to break that streak. So, putting that aside, we do have a lot of North Dakota State players that have produced at the NFL level. Now, with Mike McDonald there in year two, as Ben said, a successful year in terms of wins, but it left them on the outside looking in. They continue to turn over that roster quite a bit, and at the quarterback position is certainly at the front of that line. Geno Smith out, Sam Darnold in.
So, Mike, actually what they want to do is now become a running team. Mike McDonald fired Ryan Grubb. He was more 11 personnel, 3 receivers, 1 back, 1 tight end, and now they're going to go a lot of heavy 12 personnel with Clint Kubiak. He's bringing in, obviously, the Shanahan system, and they're going to be run-based. And Gray Zabel, this is interesting. He's played right and left tackle, both guard spots, but I'm told by some teams he actually could play center. But for Seattle, he most likely will play guard. Okay, now they'll talk about that tonight. But the bottom line is they want to play power football. Mike McDonald is a run the ball, the game guy. That's what he wants. Gray Zabel will help them do that.
Stuff. Shout out to my friend Matt Larson, the athletic director at North Dakota State. He places another one in the NFL. Ben, back to you.
Yeah, North Dakota State now 3 blew it since the 2016 NFL draft. That's now the last decade of these NFL drafts. 6 total FCS players have been a first-round pick in the last 10 years, including 2025, half of those 6 hailing from NDSU. Kev, back to you.
Yeah, so I just want to give people an idea on some of the live markets that you are seeing. Right now, DK has actually shifted to a position market. Pick 22, D-line the favorite, plus 120, wide receiver, 220, running back. And positional market now, FanDuel is going with a player name. It's going to look muddy. They're kind of, I don't know, the algorithm isn't perfect. So like Mason Graham is still eligible, but he's locked. So you kind of have to probably control F to find a lot of the guys that you're looking to draft out there, if that is the markets you are looking to bet. For example, if you were to go to pick 27 and you're like, all right, let me see if I can find Mike Green. He's plus 900. You got to do a lot of scrolling, though, to get him. Just an idea on what the live markets are out there right now, Ben.
Yeah, we are nearing that point where you get outside of the top 20. And, of course, Joe, there will be a conversation around the quarterbacks here to end out the opening round. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock right now with the 19th overall pick. We're not expecting that to be a QB, Joe, though. With the Bucs, there will be a focus on Shedeur Sanders when we get ready to come back on the other side of the break. We'll get your prospect breakdown of what Shedeur Sanders can do in the National Football League and tell you who the Buccaneers are looking at with that 19th overall selection. The Bucs have been a playoff team the last few seasons, and they keep that trend rolling, adding on here in the NFL Draft. Up next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
First time on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
You cannot shoot 2 of 17 from 3 and think you're beating Steph and Jimmy Buckets, a.k.a. Playoff Jimmy, Playoff him, Himmy, whatever you want to call him. You can't shoot that bad and compete in the playoffs versus the Warriors. SGA wasn't even that good. You want to talk about non-competitive series? People want to talk about getting rid of play-in. Maybe we need to get rid of the 8 seed because this 8 seed got their ass kicked.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We welcome you back to SportsGrid's Draft Special 2025, live right here for the entirety of round number 1, night number 1, in the shadows of Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Kevin Walsh, Joe Lisi, Ben Stevens, Mike Blewett, and our SportsGrid NFL insider in Adam Kaplan here with you the entirety of this opening round. 18th overall, right before we hit the break, out of North Dakota State, the offensive guard makes his way to Seattle. That's Gray Zabel. 19th overall pick, the Buccaneers have now made that selection. The pick is in for Tampa Bay, And at 19th overall, the Ohio State wide receiver Emeka Egbuka. He goes 19th overall to the Buccaneers, adding on to a very talented wide receiver room. Coming from a very talented wide receiver room, Joe, of course, in Columbus, Ohio, Egbuka goes 19th overall to Tampa. How do you like the fit now with the Buccaneers?
And you talk about, Mike Evans, McMillan that are there in terms of that offense and just gives another weapon for Baker Mayfield. I just think it's a little bit shocking in terms of when you see, Ibuka go to Seattle, right? And you go to see him go with JSN. I thought he went to Tampa Bay. I was a little...
No, he is going to Tampa Bay.
He is going to Tampa. Oh, all right.
Ray Zabel, 18th overall.
All right.
Seattle,
All right. I was a little confused.
Yeah.
So you give Baker Mayfield another option. Do they really need another wide receiver at this point? No. They could have went corner. They could have went, obviously, on the defensive side of the ball. But when you have the best playmaker available out there, I told you throughout the week, I thought he was second best wide receiver outside of McMillan. I really had him there.
I like Emeka Egbuka. I don't know what the props market is supposed to look like on these guys, though, on a week-to-week basis in Tampa Bay. Mike Evans, until further notice, is going to give you 1,000 yards. They like McMillan. Godwin's obviously a big part of that team. Bucky Irving's still very important out of the receiving game. Rashad White, if he's still there, is really important in the receiving game. And now you bring in a round one wide receiver. And the reality is you draft a wide receiver in round one. That's a position people want results from. So I think it's really a fascinating selection. I think everyone likes Emeka Egbuka, the prospect, so much that nobody would say bad pick. I won't say bad pick. I'm not necessarily, though, understanding that over a Jahad Campbell, a Will Johnson, names that come to mind.
Listen, there's prospect, and then there's team need and team fit. So we go back to blue and cap for that very conversation. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers already seemingly rich offensively and in the wide receiver room. What did you guys make of the selection of Emeka Egbuka?
So, personally, really like Ibuka. I think Kevin's fair to say that people really like him as a person, his experience, his productivity at Ohio State. You can't really criticize it too much. But the Bucs with only 6 picks, obviously they win the division last year, but the Bucs with only 6 picks as they tried to get to the next level. Kev, to answer your question on the props, I think you're taking Baker Mayfield overs all day next year.
I'll say this about what the Bucs did. It was not a need. They're taking the best player available. That's smart. Jason Light's a really good drafter. In fact, he's one of the better drafters.
Yeah.
On the National Football League. Yeah, he takes the best guy. Now, this is what's going to happen here with Ibuka. He's what we call a move receiver, right? He's a Z. He also could play inside in the slot. He did his damage a lot in the slot, but he's not an X for Mike Evans. He will not be the replacement for Mike Evans. He's not that type of receiver. But the bottom line is this is another guy for Baker Mayfield to throw to. And you mentioned, I think the guys did, about tight end. Kate Otten they really like. He actually had a breakout season at tight end last year. That's why they didn't go tight end.
Yeah. All right, good stuff there out of the Bucs. I will see. Cap did mention to me off air and even earlier during the show, the Bucs need help defensively at corner. So with only 5 picks left in the draft, they're going to have to do some maneuvering in order to try to shore that up defensively. And I can barely contain myself because if the Broncos don't pick soon and put the Steelers on the clock, so I know what's going to happen, I'm going to freak out, Ben.
Being based on BPA. Certainly could be in Tampa's room, maybe on Cap's board. I don't think consensus boards, though, would suggest that Emeka Egbuka was the best player available. Again, Will Johnson, Jahad Campbell, Jahade Barron, all guys that consensus boards, and that before you get to needs, I think would have suggested would have been the pick here at 19.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But you know Egbuka very well. Jeremiah Smith is that top target for Ohio State a season ago en route to a national championship, but oftentimes Will Howard's top target, that would be Emeka Egbuka. When you look at the entirety of the 2021 Ohio State wide receiver class, all 5 guys, Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, all first-round selections. Well, Blue, Broncos have put you out of your misery because the Pittsburgh Steelers are about to be on the clock, meaning the pick is in for Denver at 20th overall. Our first defensive back, not named Travis Hunter of the night, is now officially off the board. Johnny Barron, the Jim Thorpe Award winner for the best DB in college football a season ago, goes 20th overall to the Denver Broncos. From the odds perspective, Kev, what stands out to you?
Odds perspective, easily the most surprising pick of the draft. Not even close. Everyone was zoned in on running back, maybe tight end. You could sell me wide receiver. Nobody had this team going cornerback at 20. I'll let everybody else talk about the player. I like Barron. From an odds perspective, this is stunning. The Denver Broncos just went cornerback. Stunning.
Last with Will Johnson and a lockdown guy, bump and run coverage. You pair him with Patrick Surtain, and now you're really looking to compete against the LA Chargers and, more importantly, the Kansas City Chiefs in the division. We know that they can put up offense, but now Denver's building up the defensive side of the ball to compete, not just for a division title, but to make a run potentially for an AFC championship. And Texas had one of the best pass defenses with Notre Dame in all of FBS.
And Johnny Barron was one of the best to do it last year at the FBS level. Again, the Thorpe Award winner for the best DB in all of college football, even beating out Travis Hunter for that nod. The draft position prop on Barron, 17.5. The under had some slight juice, but not drastically off that range. Johnny Barron was a minus 190 favorite to be the first cornerback, not named Travis Hunter, selected tonight. He beats out Will Johnson in that market. Earlier in the week, it was Johnson as the odds-on favorite. So the Broncos, a slight surprise at the 20th overall pick. Selecting Johnny Barron, now the Steelers at 21st overall are on the clock.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We welcome you back to SportsGrid's draft special in 2025. The Pittsburgh Steelers were on the clock during our commercial break with the 21st overall pick. That pick is in, and spoiler alert, it is not a quarterback. At number 21 overall, the Steelers have selected the defensive tackle, Derek Harmon, out of Oregon. So let's start with that very idea. Not a QB, not Shedeur Sanders, not Jackson Dart. Lisi, it's the interior D lineman, Derek Harmon, out of Oregon. What do you make of the Steelers' decision here with the 21st overall selection?
I think it's terrible. And I told you this again. I think Mike Tomlin and the organization put themselves in this position a couple of years ago when they got Justin Fields and Russell Wilson and couldn't work out the quarterback situation. They say they're happy with Mason Rudolph. Oh, that's all well and good to say it because he got you to a playoff game a couple of years ago. But you're supposed to be competing not just with Cincinnati and Baltimore in the division. You're supposed to be elevating and progressing year after year after year to challenge for an AFC championship. And Derek Harmon doesn't bring you any closer to that. I understand maybe Cam Hayward is at the end of his career, regressing slightly, and he helped solidify that defensive front. But this does nothing to make them challenge for an AFC championship. It doesn't make them a better football team. And waiting for Aaron Rodgers and trying to say we'll glue it together with smoke and mirrors is just, it's just terrible. It's horrible. I'm sorry. Just terrible decision overall.
Look, I'm going to let it get over to those guys. I'll just add this. Pittsburgh doesn't even have a round 2 pick. So this team is now Rodgers or bust. Awesome. 10 days ago, he's like, I'm probably going to retire. Awesome. Okay.
And so, Kev, to your point earlier, Shedeur Sanders was not necessarily on a slide until we got around this spot because his draft position prop was 21 and a hook. The team that was favored to select Sanders at a minus 150 number entering the draft was the Pittsburgh Steelers. So blue and cap, what does that mean for Sanders? Where might he go, if at all, in this opening round?
All right, I'll get to my thoughts on my Steelers pick in a minute, but let's take a look at the board now. Shedeur Sanders is past 21. We thought the Steelers could be that landing spot. I personally never thought they were going to be in on it. You and I talked about this. I did not think the Steelers were going to go with Shedeur right here. I think Kevin's right to criticize that they're just kind of waiting on the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes, but I would say that another veteran option for them. They still have a lot of cap space. While I don't know that Kirk Cousins is somebody they want to be in business with, I'm frankly surprised during the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. I think there's a possibility that the Steelers could use Cousins as a fallback option. But let's get back to Shedeur.
You are correct, though, Mike. Yes, they have interest in him. Keep going.
Yeah, let's get back to the Shedeur, Jackson Dart potential sweepstakes. Now we start to look at those teams that are at the beginning of round 2, the Browns and the Giants. The Browns with those 2 picks at 33 and 36. Are they the team that can move back up? And then we're saying at the end of the night, wow, the Browns ended up with a quarterback and a defensive lineman that they like.
Mike, before the draft, what did we say in our pre-show? That basically Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart are late first-round, early second-round picks. Now we know that Cleveland has 2 second-rounders. They could do kind of what they want. They could trade up to make sure they secure one of those 2 quarterbacks, or they could wait. But you have to compete with the Giants, who are a team that obviously is looking for a young guy at that position eventually. But the bottom line is the Steelers don't have that guy right now. I just find it comical. What would happen if Rodgers retires? Mason Rudolph, they could say whatever they want, as I've talked to someone there privately. He did a great job 2 years ago for 4 games. We're talking about 17 games plus playoffs. That's not going to work. So that's why they have interest in Kirk Cousins. But the money, $35 million, still fully guaranteed. It's a non-starter for clubs, by the way. And that's
the Steelers would have to end up paying much more of the Kirk Cousins' salary than they would want to in order to have somebody that's an upgrade from Rudolph. But they put themselves in this position. I don't really mind the Derek Harmon pick from a team perspective. And, yes, they don't have a second-round pick, but they do have DK Metcalf now. But if Mason Rudolph is the one throwing DK Metcalf the ball, it doesn't really matter much. Ben, back to you.
The Steelers elect to go defensive tackle over quarterback. But quickly, Kev, here from the quarterback odds where we might see a signal caller late in this opening round. What's the latest update you're seeing?
Markets tracking the 26th pick. The LA Rams, even money for a quarterback. Hit again, minus 130 to be the number 26th pick in this draft. Could be a trade. But the Rams had some quarterback links. Some. I think we're going to find out. The books right now, the books have been wrong. Don't worry about it. But the books right now thinking QB to the Rams at 26.
Matthew Stafford, of course, back for 2025.
They're minus money, minus 105 to be the 26th pick exactly.
We will monitor exactly that with the other LA team, the Chargers, on the clock. Up next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rhythm. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The LA Chargers currently on the clock with the 22nd overall pick, but it's the other Los Angeles team, the Rams, who are set to select 26th overall, causing a little bit of intrigue right now from those live betting odds for the 2025 NFL Draft. Kev, right back to you. As you shared right before the break, for a quarterback to go number 26 overall was trending into minus money, and specifically one quarterback above all else in Shedeur Sanders.
So Shedeur Sanders was the favorite, plus 125, minus 105. While that was happening, Jackson Dart, 9-1. Okay, 6-1. Shedeur, minus 130. Two-man race. Sanders, minus 160. Dart, plus 170. So people holding some unreal Dart numbers. Simultaneously, though, DK, minus 130, just quarterback. Obviously, the better bet, if you're believing it. If you're believing it. Even as I sit here right now, I'm watching it move. I know I could beat the number. CLV champions would crown me today. I'm not running. I'm not. I'm a little gun-shy because... Is that really the move for this all-in, want-to-win a Super Bowl Ram team? To take a backup quarterback?
To take a quarterback. And we talked about, backing up Matt Stafford if he goes down. Were they happy with Jimmy Garoppolo in terms of a backup type of situation? They said that. But if you're Sean McVay, you have the ability to have a young quarterback sit behind a Super Bowl winner, and you can groom and mentor him for not just 1 year, maybe two. And that's what you want to have. They went Jared Verse and they went Fisk last year, all defense to make up for the loss of Aaron Donald. They have Kyron Williams. Puka says he only wants to play until he's 30. So what does that mean, in terms of this team? They could go wide receiver. They can go other areas as well. But quarterback seems like a need.
The Rams being active on the opening night of the NFL Draft has been an infrequent occurrence in the last decade. Last year, drafting Jared Verse, 19th overall, was the first time LA drafted in the first round since 2016. And they ended up with the Defensive Rookie of the Year last year in the National Football League. So Blue and Cap now here even at the tail end of the opening round. Would the Rams really spend that valuable first-round pick on a quarterback?
Entirely possible, I suppose. But, Cap, they lost 12 guys in free agency, one of whom was Cooper Kupp, who performed unbelievably for them over the last few years. They did add Devontae Adams, though, during free agency. Yeah. So it's not like the cupboard is bare at the receiver position with Puka and now Devontae Adams. I personally don't think they're going to go QB, but where do you have them? Where else do you have them going?
The number one need by far is cornerback. That's why they have interest in Jalen Ramsey, okay? So right now they've got two journeymen at corner. You don't want to go that way. If you want to be a playoff team, and compete in that NFC West, Mike. They got to get a corner. By the way, Maxwell Harrison's still out there. Had the fastest 40 time out of Kentucky. There are a bunch of good corners still left. Now, quarterback, Kevin and I were talking off the air. Matthew Stafford, they're locking to him for 2 more years, and that's it. Quarterback would be a fascinating decision here. Quarterback, not corner.
Yeah.
Though corner's the biggest need.
It'd be very similar to what the Packers did with Jordan Love and then let him sit for a couple of years. But I don't know. I continue to think that the NFC West remains a very fascinating division in the manner that these teams have continued to change. The Rams, interestingly, have been one of the more stable teams there and not making quite as many changes as the others. So, Ben, we're going to keep our eye on this QB market and whether or not it involves Matthew Stafford's future successor.
It's the other LA team on the clock right now, and the pick officially in. We know Jim Harbaugh believes one thing above all else. That's establishing the run. And at 22nd overall, the LA Chargers have drafted a running back out of North Carolina, Omarion Hampton. The 22nd overall pick of the 2025 NFL Draft, going to L.A. to join the Bolts in year number 2 under Jim Harbaugh. We know it is the philosophy, Joe, of Harbaugh and his OC in Greg Roman. The Chargers also did sign Najee Harris earlier this offseason. Let's start with the prospect himself and Omarion Hampton out of UNC. What do you like that he does best on the football field?
I like his vision. I love his cutback ability, yards after contact as well. Is he as explosive as like a Travion Henderson or a Ashton Genty? No, not in my opinion, but you give him a seam, he can take it to the house, and that's what you need when you think about Najee Harris. Think about what they had last year in terms of journeyman, pedestrian running backs. J.K. Dobbins, right? Gus Edwards. They had Haskins there from Michigan. They want to pound the rock. That is their offense, even though they have Justin Herbert, is predicated on the success of the rushing attack, which opens up everything else. Now you have a bell cow that you could feed 20 to 25 times a game, and maybe that offense will get into rhythm, especially when they make a playoff run.
You know, Cav and I had a fun little back and forth before we got going.
Yeah.
And I was like, they signed Najee Harris, and he understandably was like, he's not that good. Yeah, but they're the ones who signed him. I didn't sign him. You know what? So I don't understand. Did they have buyer's remorse before the guy hit the practice field? Omarion Hampton's the better player. I actually think Omarion Hampton, assuming they give him the full work, could actually really challenge the caliber of season Genty has in Vegas with how much Harbaugh likes to run the football. So I think Hampton will be productive.
A running back here at 22nd overall for the Bolts. Our second tailback going tonight, of course, following the Heisman runner-up in Ashton Genty at 6th overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. Lou and Cap, we just had this conversation projecting what Harbaugh might do with this 22nd overall pick. Knowing the creed in L.A., are you surprised at the Chargers pick?
Well, you have to say, Cap, it's very obvious, as Ben was talking about, Greg Roman. They are built a certain way in Harbaugh's image and Greg Roman's image. Joe Alt, Rashawn Slater, Zion Johnson, and put a stable of running backs behind them. Yes, there were some veteran moves last year, and even Najee Harris comes in as a veteran, but it's a one-year, $5 million deal. Omarion Hampton clearly going to be the running back of the future, or somebody they want to be the running back of the future.
Exactly. The draft is never about this year. It's about the future. That's how you build. The successful teams always think future, future, future. A rookie's contract, right? 25% of it's only year one, okay? 2 through 4, 75% of it. It's about the future. Najee Harris is on a one-year deal. He's a plodding power back, okay? That's why the Steelers didn't want him back. Hampton, and I know what the Chargers are going to say, Joe Ortiz, their GM's going to say, we never thought he'd be here. That's true. We didn't. I thought he'd go to Denver like everybody else out there. This is just a great value pick for a team, you're right. Everyone wants to run the football. And Hampton is so explosive. The reason why Genty went earlier is because he's a power possession back who could handle a lot of volume. There is a question on Hampton, why he dropped. How many carries could he handle at the next level?
Yeah, so I think my concern really for the Chargers is, yes, they're built in this way, and the Eagles won the Super Bowl by running the football, but are the Chargers that good overall to have that style of play, win them a division, win them the conference? I have a lot of doubts about the way that they're building this and whether or not they can take out the best teams in the AFC, Ben.
Omarion Hampton was favored at a -125 price to go to Denver. He did not go 20th overall. His over-under draft position prop was 20.5. He goes a couple of spots later to the Los Angeles Chargers with 22nd overall pick. Live right now with the 23rd pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. It is a raucous environment in the parking lots of Lambeau Field as the hometown team is on the clock with that 23rd overall pick. The Green Bay Packers awaiting their selection. Kev, from the odds perspective, what are the Packers expected to do here if it is Green Bay making the 23rd selection?
If it is Green Bay making that selection, we're thinking defense, corner, Will Johnson on the board, Harrison out of Kentucky. Want to get crazy? Trey Amos? I don't know how crazy you want to get. If, that is again, if Green Bay picks here, they're taking quite a while. I don't know. Maybe they're thinking, wondering, pondering some phone calls.
There have been some reports that the Philadelphia Eagles, our reigning Super Bowl champions, drafting 32nd overall tonight, might be in conversations with the Pack as we speak to move up to 23rd overall. We will talk about those conversations happening as we are witnessing here with the Packers, the hometown team in Titletown, USA, still on the clock at the 23rd spot in the opening round of tonight's NFL Draft. What will Green Bay do? Defense? Needing some wide receiver help? Will the Packers even be the franchise selecting 23rd overall? Are the Birds starting to lurk? Next on SportsGrid's Draft Special.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of thoughts.
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live right here for the opening round of the 2025 NFL Draft. It is SportsGrid's Draft Special, and the hometown team on the clock as we speak. At 23rd overall, the pick is in for the Green Bay Packers, and they look to bolster up the wide receiver room for quarterback Jordan Love. Matthew Golden, the speedster out of Texas, is the 23rd overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Kev, we were talking about what the Pack might look to do at this 23rd overall selection, not trading out, remaining there at number 23 in drafting a wide receiver. Is that a surprise from the odds perspective?
A little bit, again, it lean defense. I also think that the books we're not going to get enough bets of people think, come on, wide receiver, it makes sense. Doesn't matter if it makes sense. They never did it for Aaron Rodgers. They didn't do it in the first few years of Jordan Love. They do it now by actually grabbing a round one wideout. Matthew Golden, a bit of a faller. That over-under draft position bounced between 16.5 and 18.5. So going here at 23 does stop that slide. Just quickly, speaking of slide, we are seeing that this is from Adam Schefter, but I bring it up mainly because we all know that he went to Michigan. He tells us every time he can. And the Will Johnson report is that a knee issue has concerned some teams and explains why he has not been selected. It just sounds like, to me, that's a good indicator that Will Johnson being the guy that falls out of round one, right? When you put together your list of guys, he now seems to be the first overall pick for surprise guy outside of the top 32.
And, Joe, we did see that last year. Will Johnson missed a considerable amount of the 2024 campaign for the Michigan Wolverines, dealing with that knee injury. Let's focus on Matthew Golden here, the Houston transfer who spent this last year in Austin for Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns. Much like a Xavier Worthy a year ago, known for his blistering speed. What can he add for Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers offense?
Receiver, you look at Quinn Ewers and you look at Texas overall down the stretch. Two biggest targets were Gunnar Helm, the tight end, and Matt Golden that stepped up. Isaiah Bond was basically the invisible man for much of the second half of the season. He's a durable wide receiver, big body type. He's a little bit built bigger than Xavier Worthy. I don't think he's frail in any capacity. He's muscular, goes around 200 pounds. But you look at the biggest games for Texas throughout the regular season, even in the playoff win over Arizona State, Matt Golden was making plays. Even in the loss to Ohio State, he played through injury, made some big plays to put his team in a position to almost pull that ball game out. And at the end of the day, that's what you want. He goes over the middle. He's not afraid of contact. He has solid hands and is a pure route runner. Again, is he elite? No, but he's definitely going to be a day one starter for Jordan Love in that offense.
So now let's talk the Green Bay Packers at that 23rd overall pick. In front of the hometown crowd, Matthew Golden gets to flaunt that jersey up on the stage with Commissioner Roger Goodell. So cap and blue, as we look at what Green Bay decided to do, going wide receiver, how much is it going to help the Packers entering 2025?
Yeah, Cap, I don't think this one's all that complicated. It is one of their team needs. Christian Watson is obviously a very explosive player, but he's had a series of injuries and is coming off now, will be coming off a very serious one at the end of the year, last year, tearing his ACL. Romeo Dobbs' contract going to be up. So we're in a situation where the Packers needed to backfill, and they have an explosive player in Matthew Golden. As Joe said, he's sort of a big body type with speed. He's not a big target, 6 foot, around 200 pounds, but a productive player in the elite conference in college football.
So I know the Packers have said they don't need a number one receiver because he's not a number one. He is a move receiver. He's explosive. He's not real big, but he's a big play receiver. See, Christian Watson is their best deep threat. Now he's come back from a torn ACL. Romeo Dobbs is on the final year of his rookie deal. He started off his career really well coming out of the University of Nevada, and he's kind of tailed off. He had the one issue where he was benched. So this is a need pick. Now, I would also tell you, Mike, they need corners. Corner is a real significant need for them. Jair Alexander, you trade rumors who had that.
Constantly hurt.
Yes, and you remember with Alexander that weird situation when he came out to be a team captain when he wasn't chosen to be one?
Yep.
Where he got benched. So, yeah, corner's still a need for them. But you know what? It's a fine value with Golden, who's an emerging player, and they need speeds at receiver, so I get it.
Yeah, highly competitive division, Ben. Lions, Vikings, and Bears, obviously. The Lions and Vikings, tremendous seasons last year, and the Bears, a team that continues to improve and undergoing a head coaching change. So we'll see if Matt LaFleur and can utilize Matthew Golden in a positive way for Jordan Love.
A 4.29 40-yard dash time for the speedster Matthew Golden at the NFL Combine in late February. Blue, to your point about the NFC North, of course, the Detroit Lions, the one seed in the NFC, 15 wins. The Minnesota Vikings, the top wild card team with 14 victories in a surprise year in 2024, and the Green Bay Packers, 11 wins as well. Speaking of the divisional rivalries, Minnesota Vikings on the clock with the 24th overall pick. And again, Ken, we go to the odds first and foremost. What are we expecting the Vikes to do in this precarious offseason where they won 14 games last year, but of course a new quarterback, and we are getting word the pick is in. Donovan Jackson is the selection at 24th overall, made by the Minnesota Vikings. The big offensive lineman out of Ohio State, there to protect the new starting quarterback in the Twin Cities in J.J. McCarthy. That makes sense, Kev, from the odds perspective for what the Vikings decided to do.
We're expecting corner safety. We saw that a lot. I think that the Vikings were also a team, though, so heavily tied to trading back. They have so few draft assets. Them staying is a little odd. We're hearing reports the Eagles are looking to trade up. We're hearing reports the Giants are looking to trade up. Donovan Jackson was not a slam dunk there, but very interesting stuff there, Ben.
We have some breaking news as well.
Let's go.
With the 24th overall pick, Donovan Jackson goes to Minnesota, but there is a big trade happening near the end of this opening round. The New York Giants are trading up to that 25th overall selection right now, and right now that's what the Texans hold with that 25th overall pick. We have to assume quickly here, Lisi Guy, if the Giants are moving up back into the first round, it's to get a quarterback.
Yeah, and they said that Brian Dable fell in love with Jackson Dart. I'd be shocked. That would be the shocker of the day for Dart to go ahead of Sanders.
The Giants are trading up, now drafting 25th overall. Is it for a QB? Next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of thoughts.
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The big news to end out this opening round of the 2025 NFL Draft. The New York Giants have traded back into the first round for the 25th overall pick with the Houston Texans. And at number 25 overall, the pick is now in for the G-Men. And it is indeed a quarterback. The New York Giants have drafted Jackson Dart, the quarterback out of Ole Miss, with the 25th overall selection. Our second QB of night number one is now off the board. It is not Shedeur Sanders. It is the kid from Oxford, Jackson Dart, the 25th overall selection made by the New York Giants. Joe, let's start with the trade itself and then the eventual pick. The Giants trade back into round number 1 and get Jackson Dart. Do you like the move?
Well, I like the move to get a quarterback for the future, right? They didn't have to pick a number 3 overall based off of Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston being there, but to get into the top 25 and pick Jackson Dart, it makes sense moving forward. Can Jackson Dart have the same type of career as Eli Manning? Only the Giant fans could hope, right? We'll see. I have concerns about Jackson Dart. We talk about his big performances against elite competition, Alabama respectively, and some of the better defenses, college football playoff appearance on the line in Gainesville. He did not step up, looked like a deer in the headlights. He put up dynamic statistics with Lane Kiffin. 29 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's mobile. But again, he's that guy. In order to play in New York, you need a certain type of mentality. That's the concern that I have. It could be Zach Wilson 2.0, only on a different team.
Okay, odds, Dart, Giants Dart. It was real. It wasn't smoke. That building leaked it in clear as day. There are mock drafters out there like, I try not to do trades. Yeah, I got to do a trade here and get Jackson Dart into round 1 to the Giants. If you're the Giants, how could you be upset with this haul? You got Abdul Carter and what had to be one of the top 2 quarterbacks on your board. He's the second that comes off the board here. I am interested with the way the market was moving. We discussed it on this show. At 26, were the Rams supposed to be the trade-up team? Or did the Giants know they needed to get in front of L.A.? And did they just steal L.A.'s guy? Or could Shedeur Sanders follow next?
The Rams are up next at 26th overall. But as we focus on that 25th overall pick, the New York Giants draft Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss, a 3-year starter in the Grove. He won 28 games as a starting quarterback, the most wins by a starting QB in Ole Miss school history. Also set school career marks for total offense and passing yards. But blue and cap, it begs the natural question. Why did the Giants invest in Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston this offseason to trade back into the first round to get a quarterback, that guy being Jackson Dart? What say you?
Real quick on the details, Giants get pick number 25. Texans will get pick number 34, pick number 99, and a 2026 third-round pick. So that's the swap right there. Brian Daboll, known to be one of the top quarterback whisperers, if you want to use that term, on the entire planet. And he feels like Jackson Dart, a guy who, as Joe said, you have to – I like his moxie. I think he'll be able to fight through some of the difficulties in New York, but – he has some sloppy technique, and maybe Daboll thinks he can help him fix it.
See, Mike, Jackson Dart had one of these Bo Nix types of off seasons. I was at the Senior Bowl. Dart was great there. Really good combine. He had a good off season. This elevated him to the, as I said at the start of the show, late first, early second round consideration. So he went here. Now, the Giants, Mike, now have a future quarterback. You ask about Russell Wilson. He'll be the starter, okay? Now, Russell fizzled out, as you know, as a Steelers fan. They got to get Dart ready to play this season at some point. Rookie quarterbacks usually don't sit anymore. When I first started covering the league, this is when Aaron Rodgers and others, teams don't think that way anymore. So Russell Wilson's got to have to play well to keep the job.
Certainly a sense that Daboll and Joe Schoen are acting with some desperation, but getting Abdul Carter and Jackson Dart in the first round, I have to give the Giants credit. That's a good way to set yourself up for 2025.
25th overall, Jackson Dart drafted by the New York Giants. He was a minus 135 price. To go to the New York Giants, it was the most likely team to select Dart. His draft position prop, somebody always knows something, 25 and a hook. Was that exact number for Jackson Dart? The Giants trade back into the opening round to select him. If I asked you to set the odds quickly, minus money, plus money, Jackson Dart starts a game in 2025 for the Giants. What do you think it looks like? I would think so as well. Cap just talked about it there. The Giants are not drafting him just as a quarterback for the future, but maybe later in 2025. More reaction up next on SportsGrid's Draft Special here in 2025.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of thoughts.
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I'm back live on air. My bench.
Live right here on SportsGrid's Draft Special 2025. The trades keep on coming. We did not see a single one prior to the NFL Draft beginning tonight and its opening round. Now make it 3 after the Giants trade back into the first at 25th overall to draft Jackson Dart, the quarterback from Ole Miss. The LA Rams have traded out of the 26th overall pick to the Atlanta Falcons. Find their way back into round number 1. We'll talk about the trade details in a moment. They were expensive. With that 26th overall pick, it is now in for Atlanta. Talented edge rusher out of Tennessee, James Pierce Jr., is that 26th overall pick made by the Falcons. Kev, we start with you. James Pierce Jr. was flirting with that first-round designation. There is no question of the talent. There is some question of some other things outside of the football field. He is a first-round pick. The Falcons trade back in. They utilize the 26th overall selection on the edge rusher out of Tennessee. Your reaction?
I am not privy to all of what the specifics of the character issues are. It feels pretty safe to say, though, that it is not trouble with the law. So with that said, in a class that everybody believes is terrible, one of the at least 10 best players in the entire draft class was on the board at 26. And that's why Atlanta gave up a future first to go and get him. A guy that, if you would have told Lisi at the beginning of the college football season, was competing with Abdul Carter for first edge rusher off the board, he would have said, you're 100% spot on, just went 26th, and it wasn't because of a down year at Tennessee. It was all off-field stuff. That is the easiest dice roll a team could possibly make. A-plus pick Atlanta.
I love it. Atlanta won the first round. Jalen Walker and you get Pierce, number 1 and number 2 in terms of the top 32. You won the draft. They lost it last year with the Michael Penix trade, right? But they won it this year, so you got to hand it to them. They completely transformed their defensive front seven. They can now get after the passer. They're great in terms of run support, both Walker and Pierce. And Pierce was very productive in great big games last year. Go to the Alabama game where they, turned it on in terms of the second half. He struggled from the midpoint on due to some nagging injuries, and obviously straight into the college football semi-final playoff loss to Ohio State. But that aside, James Pierce and, we talked about it, Mykel Williams, number 1 and number 2 in terms of overall talent heading into the college football season last year. They got a steal right now.
Yes, he was projected at times, James Pierce Jr., to be one of the first names off the board entering the 2024 college football campaign. He goes 26th overall to the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, a priority was that defensive front for the Dirty Birds. Jalen Walker, their first pick at 15th overall. And at 26th overall, trading back into the opening round, it is James Pierce Jr. The Falcons, who you said, one of the stunning moves of last year's opening round, seem like a winner tonight. Here is the trade details as of this moment. Again, it was expensive for Atlanta to get back into the first round. In addition to James Pierce Jr., they also will get a 2025 third-rounder this year from the LA Rams in return. The Rams get the 46th overall pick, the Falcons' second-round selection, and a 2026 first-rounder as well, along with a seventh-rounder later in this draft. So, Cap and Blue, we go to you. Some of the off-the-field issues for James Pierce Jr. is what kept him until this stage later in the opening round. What exactly is the concern that Atlanta thought they could get past based on his talent?
Yeah, tremendous haul here for the Falcons in terms of what they now look like on defense. Gave up a lot to do it. Yep. What do you see in Pierce?
All right, a couple things here, Mike. Coming into the draft, you could argue, in fact, you had the stats, arguably, other than Carolina, the NFL's worst pass rush. So they had to do something significant. They've done that, Mike. They didn't add just one. They have 2 guys. Now, why did Pierce drop? Here's what I'm told. Maturity, social maturity, willingness to be coached, doing things the way it's coached. That's going to be important now. He's got Raheem Morris as a head coach. They have a good defensive system. They need the guys to get upfield. I agree with Lisi. If these guys can produce and be who they think they are, this takes them to the next level. It's a winnable division. Now, of course, Michael Penix, this first full year at starting at quarterback, he's got to be who they thought he was, but there's a lot to work here. If you're a Falcons fan, I know you went crazy last year at this time. You got to feel pretty good right now.
Solid offensive line, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. They have weapons there, and now 2 weapons on the defensive side of the ball. Doesn't surprise me at all that the Rams moved back. Les Snead has showed his ability to work with whatever picks he has. So, Ben, back to you.
Yeah, as we look right now, Blue, at the Falcons using now both of their first-round picks, 15th and 26th, on the defensive line. That, of course, a priority. 2 of the 9 defensive linemen, edge rushers, whatever you want to categorize it, that have gone so far in this opening round. Ev, when you think about what the Falcons' draft philosophy is, what have we seen tonight out of Atlanta executing it?
In the next season, I want to say this, though. When they made the decision to draft Penix, it was absolutely stunning. But for me, the monstrous mistake that meant immediately was giving Kirk Cousins that money. I still wonder if a part of them, when after paying Kirk, found something out, and it's why they drafted Penix. And I think we would all agree that even if the Cousins decision was the failure, not the Penix pick, Atlanta, I think, feels significantly better about Michael Penix going into next year than they would if they were stuck with Kirk Cousins, and very well might have, at 15, had to go quarterback or potentially had to trade up, right? Whatever they might. I mean, look, they're wild. They might have traded a 2 to take, Shedeur Sanders. Who knows with these guys? I just think for Atlanta, the Cousins deal was atrocious the moment they picked Penix. The saving grace would be, though, Ben, they immediately got out of that and have given themselves some optimism heading into next year.
A plus 230 price on the Falcons, second best number to win the NFC South. Of course, they entered last season as the minus money favorite because of the optimism around Kirk Cousins. Those 2 in tandem, the Michael Penix Jr. pick and Kirk Cousins in the offseason acquisition, that's kind of the disparity. But as we focus on 2025 and the 27th overall pick, Baltimore Ravens on the clock no longer. The pick is in for the flock, and at 27th overall, it's the Georgia defensive back in Malachi Starks. He makes his way to the Charm City to be there with the Baltimore Ravens. So yet another Georgia defender, Joe, goes in an opening round of a 2025 NFL draft. Malachi Starks, drafted 27th overall by Baltimore. What can he add to that Ravens secondary immediately?
With Kyle Hamilton, right, struggled with injuries, Malachi Starks is going to be that safety that is just a ball wrecker, always around the football. And the biggest thing comes up in run support, 75 tackles. Saw on the screen, he's not afraid to hit. That's what you want to see in terms of setting a precedence and a physicality over the middle to allow and force wide receivers to work for everything. That's what he brings to the table. It can be utilized in multiple looks, and that's what I think John Harbaugh wants for that defense. Kyle Hamilton was supposed to be that guy, but again, battling injuries, now you solidify the secondary with Malachi Starks.
Kev, quickly back to you. Malachi Starks, was he a favorite with a minus money price to be a first-round pick tonight?
He absolutely was. Malachi Starks, I think, was also supposed to be the first of that. It wasn't a market, but first of the safeties.
Yeah.
South Carolina, I'm just going to let you handle the pronunciation, was the other player we were tracking in this market. Certainly still could be room for here with, some picks left on the board, but Starks the first from that bunch.
Nick Emanwari is the guy you are referencing for that Gamecock secondary. Also a pretty hefty and strong price to be a first-round pick tonight. The first true safety off the board, the Baltimore Ravens at 27th overall. Malachi Starks out of Georgia. Plenty more conversation around Starks, what this means for Baltimore. The final 5 picks already. The 2025 NFL Draft's opening round next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
First time on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
You cannot shoot 2 of 17 from 3 and think you're beating Steph and Jimmy Buckets, a.k.a. Playoff Jimmy, Playoff him, Himmy, whatever you want to call him. You can't shoot that bad and compete in the playoffs versus the Warriors. SGA wasn't even that good. You want to talk about non-competitive series? People want to talk about getting rid of play-in. Maybe we need to get rid of the 8 seed because this 8 seed got their ass kicked.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The The last 4 picks that we have seen so far to end out the opening round of the 2025 NFL Draft, the hometown team takes Matthew Golden. After that was Donovan Jackson, the offensive lineman, going to the Minnesota Vikings. The big trade, the New York Giants moving back into the first round and getting Jackson Dart, the quarterback perhaps of the future. The Falcons also trade back into round number 1. They select James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher out of Tennessee, and Malachi Starks goes 27th overall to the Baltimore Ravens. Only 5 more picks remain in tonight's opening round of the 2025 NFL Draft, and currently reigning NFC North champs for 2 consecutive seasons, the Detroit Lions are on the clock with the 28th overall pick. Blue and Cap, what exactly are the Lions looking to do here to end out round number 1?
Yeah, so obviously the Lions with a huge season last year, but they were bit by the injury bug late in the year, Adam. Just we kind of saw it going into the playoffs. They had more than a dozen guys on IR, so you could conceivably run it back, but you're always going to tweak the team a little bit. Where do you feel like their assets are best spent in for 2025?
Edge rush, by far, is their biggest need. I mean, they need – look, Mike, when Hutchinson got hurt, it was over. You saw what Washington did to them in the playoffs on their home field, Mike. They couldn't stop them.
Yeah.
Now, corner is also a need, but nothing like edge, and also D tackle's a need. To me, your guy from Boston College, Donovan Ezaraku, is out there. He's the best edge rusher available. To me, the fact that he's still available, that's a great value for the Lions here. We'll see what they do.
Still a few teams left that might be looking at Ezaraku and Mike Green out there for Marshall is another one. But, Ben, back to you. It looks like we have a selection.
It does look like we have that pick. It is in, and another Ohio State player off the board here in round number 1. Interior D lineman Tyleik Williams from Ohio State goes 28th overall to the Detroit Lions. So bolstering that defensive line in the interior, as we just heard the guys discussing, Joe, that was going to be a team priority for the Lions here in round number 1. Tyleik Williams, an anchor of that defensive front this past year for Ohio State en route to winning a national championship. What can he do now for the Lions in the National Football League?
Well, get pressure up the middle, right, against the likes of Caleb Williams and some of the other quarterbacks like Jordan Love in the division, and help solidify the defensive front. Did have 5.5 sacks over his career. He's big, 6'3", 6'4", about 334 pounds, very quick first step. He shoots the gap very well. You could see it on tape right there. He's a dominant run stuffer, and that's what you want if you're the Detroit Lions. Front 7 got worn down. Hutchinson coming off the injury. You have a presence now in the middle, Kev. Solid pick. Again, this helps them now solidify themselves with Philadelphia as the top 2 teams potentially in the NFC.
Comfortably, the most surprising player to be drafted in round number 1 thus far. Round's not over. Tyleik Williams was pure plus money, though, to go inside the first 32. Plenty of guys in front of him, including his own teammate, offensive tackle Josh Simmons.
Absolutely so, Kevin. If Detroit looked to do that, they did not end up taking Josh Simmons earlier in this draft. Another NFC North team, as we shared, 24th overall. Donovan Jackson, the offensive guard out of Ohio State. Ohio State, 3 players drafted so far on night number 1. Their most bitter rivals in the Michigan Wolverines, also with 3 first-round selections as of this moment. So, Cap and Blue, right back to you. You guys highlighted a defensive lineman. It is Tyleik Williams from the Ohio State Buckeyes and the national champs. What can he present now for Detroit under new defensive coordinator Kelvin Shepard?
So obviously interesting when you get to the end of the first round, you see these teams that obviously had successful seasons to some extent last year. They are just trying to bolster and probably are more need-focused than some of the teams earlier in the draft who are taking some swings on impact players. The Lions already have impact players. Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, just to name a few. Tyleik Williams now comes in and tries to stabilize some of the areas of the defense that were soft due to injury last year.
Mike, okay, on that point you just made about soft due to injury, Mike, they're really light at D tackle. Lee McNeil, their start nose tackle, suffered a torn ACL. They had no one to replace him. They're very light on depth at D tackle. So when McNeil comes back, they're going to have a rotation. Maybe if Williams loses a little weight, he could play 3 technique or 5 or 7. But the bottom line is, when you're picking that late, you could take a guy that you had in your top 40. Williams, by the way, is like a top 40, top 45 player. Some people are going to say maybe this is a little bit early, but the bottom line is this is a good, productive football player from a great program for a team who needed help on their defensive front.
And going into a good program in Detroit, obviously the Lions will try to get healthy this offseason and utilize Williams in a unique way. He'll be playing for a new defensive coordinator. Aaron Glenn, now the head coach of the Jets. Kelvin Shepard, promoted from within, is the Lions' new defensive coordinator.
We have seen 4 universities right now, 4 FBS programs so far in tonight's opening round have 3 players drafted in this first round. Texas, we also look at Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan as of this moment. Right now, the Washington Commanders are on the clock with the 29th overall pick. Of course, an NFC Championship game appearance in the historic and sensational rookie campaign for Jaden Daniels, Kev. Their first outside the nation's capital since the early 1990s and 1991. How will the Commanders look to build here, having the 29th overall pick?
Now, listen, these are great questions, but OK Dubs is trying to do a couple of things here while we still can. So let's not get wild.
So you want me to ask Lacey or no?
It's gotta be
let's just get. Here's the deal. Philadelphia Eagles odds were still up. Linebacker's the favorite. That's even money. That's Jahad Campbell. That's the thought process. We did throw a little $10 on a 10-1 quarterback. What if they like Will Johnson? So I said I wasn't going to touch the live market. It was a little complicated. All of a sudden, the Birds markets were out there. And, what were we going to do? You had to get in the mix. You 5-1 on the tight end. Pick 32.
There is an idea that Mason Taylor could sneak into the end of this opening round. Quickly, Joe, what do you think the Commanders do with this 29th overall?
Well, the edge rushers in need, but knowing what's been off the board already, I think they go in a different route. I mean, they might go offensive tackle or even defensive front seven. I think that's potentially, or don't count out running back.
They have made some notable additions already this offseason. The offensive tackle, Larry Tunsil, the wide receiver, and Swiss Army knife in Deebo Samuel. Washington remains on the clock with the 29th overall pick. Who do they add for the Commanders? Find out next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of thoughts.
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I got a join in.
We welcome you back to SportsGrid's Draft Special 2025. Kevin Walsh, Joe Lisi, and Ben Stevens, Adam Kaplan, and Mike Blewett here as well for the entirety of the opening round that is winding down tonight on this Thursday, night number 1, outside of Lambeau Field in Green Bay. 29th overall, the Washington Commanders, after a historic 2024 campaign, added the offensive line to protect their biggest asset in Jaden Daniels, the left tackle out of Oregon. Josh Connerly Jr. is the 29th overall pick made by the Commanders. He is the second Oregon player to go in the opening round tonight. And Kev, we could see why Washington makes this decision. You want to protect Jaden Daniels, you get a really good offensive tackle to do just that.
It is an upset, though. A lot of thought that this team would look towards the defensive line. A little wide receiver chatter if maybe there was a falling, say, a Emeka Egbuka potentially, obviously went much further than this. So I think I even saw some running back buzz, by the way, for Washington. I saw some Amarian Hampton, Trevion Henderson, Hampton off the board, Henderson on the board. They go with Connerly. Certainly a guy I've seen in round 1. But, man, I saw way more Josh Simmons than Josh Connerly here, and the market agreed. Simmons was a very big favorite to go inside round number 1. Based on the teams remaining, it's got to be KC or bust.
Yeah,
or trade up.
Yeah, no, it's an okay pick for them. You know, at the end of the day, they want to run the football and they want to protect Jaden Daniels, right? He's a guy that I think, you know, from an athletic standpoint, it makes sense. But again, he's not very well built. I still think he can add, 20 pounds of muscle. I think he's a little bit soft in terms of that aspect. But again, you talk about best player on the board and a team need and what they want to do from an offensive perspective. Maybe they felt running back wasn't that much of a value at this point. They could maybe third, fourth rounds pick up a guy like, Dylan Sampson or another home run hitter in that regard.
3 more picks remain here in this first round on night number 1 in Green Bay. The Buffalo Bills at 30th, the Kansas City Chiefs at 31st, and, of course, the reigning Super Bowl champs in the Philadelphia Eagles end out our 32 picks on night number 1. Blue and Cap, quickly to you. Of course, the Commanders so over-exceed expectation in Jaden Daniels' rookie year. They win 12 games. Their preseason win total was 7.5. They get to the NFC title game for the first time since 1991 in more than 3 decades. I think there is a thought, all right, well, how do you back that up when you were so much more successful than anybody really anticipated? It's been a pretty stellar offseason so far for Washington. How optimistic should the Commanders be entering 2025?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Debo and Laramie Tunsil, 2 needs. They get Connerly here. I think the only surprise for me in that, obviously you're always looking to upgrade the overall talent of your team, but a Pro Football Focus finished at the end of the year that had them ranked as the 10th best offensive line in football, so they had done a much better job, clearly, from the years before. Dan Quinn got the program on the right tracks, and Jaden Daniels is there to reap the benefits.
Mike, probably, though, bottom 5 talented offensive line. They just didn't have a lot of talent. So Brandon Coleman, who was their left tackle last year, he'll move to guard. Tunsil's their left tackle. Connerly will play right tackle. Biotish is their center, okay? And Sam Cosme is terrific towards ACL at right guard. So now they can move Coleman in for him until he's ready. And by the way, Andrew Wiley, the right tackle last year, took a pay cut. So this had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Now they can compete with the big boys. See, that was the problem last year. It was sort of patchwork on their offensive line. Now they're building it for the franchise quarterback. I love what Adam Peters, their general manager, is doing right now.
Yeah, clearly the Eagles in their division are a huge threat to them year in and year out, but the Commanders made a huge leap forward in year 1. We'll see what it looks like in year 2 with Jaden Daniels.
A 12-5 record in 2024, an NFC Championship game berth as well. The Commanders should be feeling good about 2025. Kev, the Buffalo Bills on the clock as we speak. What seems most likely for what Buffalo is going to do here at 30th overall?
Yeah, I think we saw the secondary discussed a lot for Buffalo. They felt, though, like a BPA team. So it's one of those things they're going to reveal their board here, Ben, with whomever they take in this slot.
Yeah, absolutely so. 30th overall. We await that pick being announced in Green Bay. Joe, any thoughts on what Buffalo is going to do at this moment?
I would take corner. It's a need, and Will Johnson's available. Why not take him, right? But they go corner. They take Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky, Mark Stoops, defensive player, and we know Kentucky defensive backs definitely make it in the NFL. So, again, very productive program, defensive-minded coach, sure tackler as well.
very notable.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if I think he was, but you can kind of parlay those big numbers. I think Will Johnson was an option. Sometimes you're like, oh, these are my free legs. Will Johnson, you got 2 spots left.
Maxwell Hairston goes 30th overall to Buffalo. More reaction next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of thoughts.
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Mike's
30th overall selection, the Buffalo Bills go cornerback out of Kentucky, the speedster Maxwell Hairston, who ran the fastest 40-yard dash time at this year's Combine in Indianapolis, 4.28. The Buffalo Bills addressed the need in the secondary, drafting Maxwell Hairston. But our 4th trade of night number 1 right after that, in exchange between the 2 teams that battled it out for a Lombardi Trophy this past NFL season. The Eagles move up ever so slightly from 32 to 31 with the Kansas City Chiefs, who move back by a spot to end out the opening round. In addition, the Eagles will send pick number 164 overall, a 5th rounder to come on Saturday, back to Kansas City. And after the Eagles make the deal, Kev, the pick is now official, and it is in. The 31st overall pick of the 2025 NFL Draft, Philadelphia Eagles, reigning Super Bowl champs, have drafted the linebacker out of Alabama, Jahad Campbell, a very highly touted prospect in this year's draft class in 2025. Howie Roseman, who's been good at drafting those defenders out of the SEC, takes Jahad Campbell at 31st overall.
This year's SportsGrid, they're like, hey, K-Dub, could you do draft grades for us? I said, guys, I'm a little busy, but I'll get you one. I gave it to him months ago. I said, here's the Eagles grade, A+. Because that was a guarantee, wasn't it? It always was. Last year, NFL World went wild. Oh, how could Buffalo trade with KC? I hope we hear the same outcry. Chiefs got pants in the Super Bowl. Philadelphia Eagles let them know what was what. And then they allow the Eagles to come up here and get one of the 15 best players in this class at pick 31. Thank you very much. And by the way, oh my goodness, all of a sudden the Eagles value middle linebacker? Yeah. Zach Bourne nearly flirted with Defensive Player of the Year. They paid him, get another great one in town. Eagles look pretty good to me. Super Bowl favorites, for a reason.
And they love SEC talent, don't they, right? You get a player that runs a 4.5 40, can run sideline to sideline, not afraid to hit, and just steps up in terms of run support. That's all you can ask for. A wrecking ball in terms of the middle linebacker position. And he's a young, athletic player that can be utilized in a multiple looks throughout the regular season and provide depth for Bone in that defense. They are legit. Their defense, and we talk about teams just being able to compete year in and year out. That defense is going to be there top 10 for the next 3 years because of these type of players and talent.
In the last 10 years, Alabama has had the most first-round selections out of any school in the NFL draft. That was their second first-rounder going tonight. Tyler Booker, 12th overall to the Dallas Cowboys. 31st overall, Jahad Campbell goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. So, Blue and Cap, a dominant defense that led the Birds to their second Lombardi Trophy in franchise history. Might have just got another piece to make it even better. Cap, what were you guys hearing? And Blue, you can direct the conversation. Well, what were you guys hearing about what Philadelphia's draft philosophy was to end out this opening round?
And we talked a little bit about how the Lions just really trying to strengthen an already strong team. The Eagles, the strongest team in the league last year. They add a pick at a position where they are not known historically to make high draft picks, but Jahad Campbell clearly ranked very high in a lot of prospect lists, and he goes here at 31.
Mike, this is a top 20 player. And the Eagles, who typically don't do this, once Walter Nolan, their number one guy that they wanted, went off the board early, they just took the best player on the board. Now, I know Donovan Ezeraku is a lot of guys, a lot of Eagle fans wanted this guy, but guess what? Campbell's a highly graded player. He's higher on their board than everybody's boards. So now they got Zach Bond, who's being paid $17 million a season, who, by the way, Mike, was signed to be a backup edge rusher and a special teamer. I mean, this is what happens sometimes. You just luck into stuff. Howie Roseman's a great GM. Vic Fangio, the best D coordinator in the league. By the way, they had the number one defense last season, but they lost 5 starters. Nakobe Dean is one of them. He suffered a torn patella tendon. He might not be back till midseason. He's on the final year of his deal. This is a no-brainer. This is a great value pick with a great football player. And it's funny, the guys were talking about going back to the SEC. The Eagles really ignored the SEC for 2 decades. Now nobody goes harder at Georgia and Alabama than Howie Roseman.
Ben, I'd like to burn about 8 minutes here to keep it from going back to the desk, but I have to get people involved as we like to pass the ball around.
You know, Blue, sometimes it's just the reality of the situation. Kevin Walsh, you were very high on Jahad Campbell. So were the odds. What was the pricing looking like around Campbell that he finds his way at number 31 overall? Be a slight upset, I would presume, for him to be this late selected in the opening round.
Yeah, over-under draft position was 19.5. Slight money, I think, leaning towards that over. But the thought was Tampa Bay would draft him at 19. And look, I don't want people to be confused here. My excitement is me being an Eagle fan, but my grade, most unbiased man in the history of sports media. So don't get confused here. My A-plus will be no different than every other A-plus you see from those who give out these grades. So don't worry about sending it back to me. You can take it back if you'd want, Mike, and give them the A-plus that they deserve. Don't be upset. Who'd you guys take? Derek Hart? What? Woof. It's all right. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The Philadelphia Eagles continue to knock it out of the park.
The Commonwealth rivalry on full display. The Birds will enter the 2025 campaign looking for that title defense as the Super Bowl 60 favorites at a plus 600 price. That has been the story, Joe, often for the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, the 2 years prior. They will not be the defending Super Bowl champs for the first time since 2022, or the 2021 season, I should say. But, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs will be the reigning AFC champs once again. They are making the final pick of tonight's opening round. Where do you think the Chiefs go at 32nd overall?
Rusher, defensive tackle, and you can go corner. Are they going to take a shot on Will Johnson, or are they going to potentially throw an outlier and take a running back, right? We talked about the running backs that they do have. Pacheco hasn't lived up to expectations, 7th-round selection. They drafted Carson Steele, who really hasn't panned out. They have a pedestrian old man in terms of Kareem Hunt. You have the option right now at number 32 overall to get a home run hitter and really challenge. What was the problem with Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl? Offensive line broke down. They averaged, 1.3 yards per carry and less than 30 yards on the ground. That needs to change in order for them to have success. So you look at best available running back position, players knowing that they traded and traded up for Worthy last year. Well, now why not? You have two running backs in Trevion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins that can completely transform that rushing attack.
And we'll see what Kansas City decides to do. You would also think, Blue and Cap, after the dismantling that injured O-line took during Super Bowl 59 against the Eagles, they would also look to address that offensive line to keep Patrick Mahomes out of duress more often than not. We have already seen 7 offensive linemen go in tonight's opening round. What's the plan for KC at number 32?
Yeah, you see right here, top need in offensive tackle. Kevin mentioned Josh Simmons' name a few times. You have to wonder if somebody like him or others will be on the board here for the Chiefs, Cap, as they close out this first round. The pick is in. We don't know what it is yet, but another team, obviously, is very consistent success, but they do need to shore up the offensive line to protect Patrick Mahomes, which unfortunately has been on full display in 2 separate Super Bowls.
Mike, they went through 4 left tackles last season. Now they just signed Jalen Moore to be their left tackle, formerly with the Niners. Right tackle is Jawan Taylor, who probably would not be with the Chiefs, but they're locked into his fully guaranteed salary this season. Remember, they traded Joe Thuney. O-line's a big problem. Now, defensively, they lost Deshaun Wharton, who signed that big deal with the Carolina Panthers. Corner, they were shaky. The Eagles went after. Remember, Jalen Hurts was the MVP because he threw the ball downfield. And running back, man, Isaiah Pacheco did not look right. He just did not look right coming back from the broken leg in the second half of the season. So, hey, they were the runner-up, but they got a lot of needs.
Yeah. Ben, back to you.
A couple of draft props could be well on display here as well. 2.5 quarterbacks in the opening round. Seemingly, we're only going to get 2. Of course, we don't expect the Chiefs, if they're making that pick, to draft a QB. We'll talk about Shedeur Sanders and the massive slide he has been underneath in all night long. Also, 2.5 running backs. The over had the plus money. We'll see where things stand as of the end of this opening round. Here at the 32nd overall pick, it'll be the Kansas City Chiefs. The Philadelphia Eagles celebrating the selection of Jihad Campbell. What will KC look to do? End out night 1 next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of thoughts.
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We welcome you back to SportsGrid's draft special here in 2025. The end of the opening round has officially come at the 2025 NFL Draft on night number 1 in Green Bay, Wisconsin. After a small swap of picks, the Eagles moving up to 31st overall in drafting Jahad Campbell. The Chiefs move back to make the final selection of tonight's first round. They draft the offensive tackle Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. The pick officially in. Once again, 32nd and final pick of tonight's opening round. The Kansas City Chiefs have selected Josh Simmons from Ohio State. Joe, off to a sensational 2024 campaign for the Buckeyes, but was injured in game number 6 against Oregon. The Buckeyes did reshuffle to replace some of that production along the left side, but he was having a great year at Ohio State in 2024 and a very productive collegiate career before that. We mentioned how KC would prioritize that offensive line, trying to shore up their biggest issue in Super Bowl 59. They do so with Ohio State's Josh Simmons. The final pick of tonight's first round. How does it look to you?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a need, right? You talk about Pat Mahomes being abused in the Super Bowl, and Josh Williams has the ability to come in and potentially challenge for a starting job. Great wingspan, 6'5", 310. Again, could gain some weight and still not miss a beat. And again, you talk about the patella tendon surgery, right, that he suffered at Ohio State. He was trending to be the best player on that offensive line. But again, he's come back from injury. He's rehabbed. He's 100%. Showcase that, didn't go to the combine, but still showcase that he's 100% healthy. And again, at 32 overall, Kev, not a bad pick in terms of safety for that O-line and Andy Reid.
Interesting with the medical stuff. Like Josh Simmons, who were like, he could have been the number 1 offensive tackle in his class.
No doubt.
Get injured. Maybe, I've seen some that say a torn patella could be maybe the most difficult thing to come back from. But if you're Kansas City, that's the type of chance I think you take. What's tough, though, is Kansas City, obviously, win now mode. Are they the team that needed to take that chance? I wonder if KC's a little bummed out. Connerly or, some of the other tackle options weren't on the board for them. That felt a little bit more, okay, I can play this guy day one.
By all reports, the medicals were clean for Josh Simmons. Again, he started 6 games, completed 5 for Ohio State, and was so good in those opening 5 games of the year. He still earned Big Ten honorable mention during the 2024 college football season. But Blue and Cap, the opening round has come to a close, and the Kansas City Chiefs at 32nd overall select Josh Simmons. You guys highlighted how offensive line, offensive tackle would be priority. How do you grade the selection for KC? And might we see Josh Simmons start right away in Kansas City?
We specifically called out his name when we were talking a couple of minutes ago, so a pick that makes a lot of sense to me. What's interesting to me about the Chiefs is that after that 2020 Super Bowl where Mahomes got chased all over the field, he's on a bad ankle, and they got blown out by Tampa, they did do a good job of retooling that offensive line and went on to win back-to-back Super Bowls. Obviously, you gave it a run to win a third, getting back to the big game where they got blown out again, in part because they could not contain Philadelphia's pass rush. So, back to the drawing board. They're going to rebuild it again, and Simmons will clearly be a key piece there.
Yeah, and they could bring him along slowly. They'll have 5 starters, but it's about the future for him. They had to address their offensive line, Mike. It's been such a disappointment because you brought up the time when they lost to the Bucs. The next year, they had 5 new starters. Okay, they admitted their mistake. And then they had the problem with Joe Thuney. They shipped him out to Chicago. Simmons will eventually be a starter for them. It's just a matter of when he'll be ready, but it makes total sense. They got to rebuild their offensive line a little bit. Now, the thing is, where will they line him up? That's the question. They got to see him first when he comes back from his knee injury.
Yeah, Ben, I don't think I have too many concerns about the Chiefs and the manner in which they play. I think people get concerned watching them during the year because they won a lot of games in ugly fashion, and they weren't the impressive, explosive offensive Chiefs team that we saw in previous years. But this has become a defensive-minded football team, and they won a lot of games close because they are good on that side of the ball. So it's going to be up to the Ravens, the Bills, and anybody else to take them, to knock them off the top of the mountain in the AFC.
Again, for the first time since entering the 2022 NFL campaign, the Chiefs will not be the reigning Super Bowl champs, but what they will be is still the 3-time reigning AFC champions, and yet still not booked as the favorites to win the AFC. Baltimore and Buffalo slightly in front of Kansas City. Those three teams separated by only 80 cents. Of course, we will recap and react all of our favorite picks, all of the surprising ones throughout the 2025 NFL Draft and its first round. But of course, guys, a main story tonight. Shedeur Sanders was not a first-round pick. An over-under draft prop of 21.5. Favored to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a minus 600 favorite to be a first-round selection tonight. He will have to wait until at least early on night number 2. Joe, how surprised are you that Shedeur Sanders is still not being selected in the 2025 NFL Draft?
Well, I'm slightly shocked because I still think he's the second-best quarterback in this draft class, better than Jackson Dart, and we saw the Giants move up to get him. But again, he could be like the Will Levis in terms of draft value, top of the second round. We have not like Will Levis. Let's hope.
Not your guy necessarily.
Human turnover machine, Will Levis. No, but what I'm talking about is number 33 overall with the Cleveland Browns. That has possibilities. There's another team potentially, trade up in the second round to get him. We'll see. We'll see how valued he is. Him and Will Johnson, I think, are the two biggest shocks offensively and defensively right now. And Kevin brought up a great point about how teams value, injuries, right? We just talked about Simmons coming off the patella injury, but he's an offensive lineman, right? Doesn't have to run as much as, obviously, a corner in terms of the cutting ability. That's how teams, I think, value certain types of injuries where they're willing to take a shot on Simmons as opposed to being a little hesitant on a lockdown corner like Will Johnson coming off an injury.
Yeah, Will Johnson is – I actually just kind of put a list together. I missed Will Johnson. That's obviously a really big surprise. Mike Green, through the odds, is a surprise, but it's easy to figure out. There's a lot of off-field stuff there. We mentioned Shedeur.
Henderson?
It always seemed like it was on the edge. Henderson not as big, I would say. Eman Wari and Ezeraku, again, through the odds, your most surprising names to not see called day number 1.
Through the odds and through the notoriety, Shedeur Sanders sliding out of the first round just a few days ago was greater than a $2 odds-on favorite to be a top 10 pick, not go in the top 32. Our final thoughts on night number 1 next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of thoughts.
15.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
40?
Our closing thoughts on the end of night number 1, round number 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft. Ben Stevens, Joe Lisi, and Kevin Walsh. Of course, Mike Blewett and our SportsGrid NFL insider, Adam Kaplan, here as well. Blue and Cap, we'll start with you. Some of your overwhelming first-round selections and what you thought of tonight in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Of course, a main storyline, that being the Shedeur Sanders slide. He is not a first-round pick. He will have to wait until at least early on night number 2. Just how early, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, clearly it is. We're finally done with the first round. We are going to be talking about several storylines. Shedeur was the most discussed player, the most polarizing player, clearly, as he drops completely out of the first round. But I think what I'm going to be remembering now is the maneuvering that the Giants did going to work out and actually save this regime in Dable and Shane, where they have Abdul Carter and their quarterback of the future in Jackson Dart. That's going to be the team that is going to be, I think, focused on a lot by NFL fans to see how well this worked.
Yeah, and Mike, it shows you from an ownership standpoint that they let their front office do their job, okay? They didn't make them start, or like the front office didn't say, we got to win now, Let's sign a ton of veterans. Let's just draft needs. Well, Jackson Dart is not going to help them this season, theoretically, okay? If Russell Wilson plays well, he's not going to play. Now, when you look at it, though, overall in this first round, the biggest surprise is Sanders. The over-under total of quarterbacks was 2.5. And I'll admit it, when Craig Mish and I both agreed, we thought it would be 3. We thought the over was the play, but did you know the odds dropped? A week and a half ago, it was minus 210 on the over. It dropped to like minus 120, okay? That tells you that most people thought that it's very questionable whether we get 3 quarterbacks, and we did not.
Yeah, look, the trades didn't happen, guys, until we finally, the red light came on the cameras, the trades started moving around, and we saw our usual maneuvering of teams. It wasn't fast and furious like we saw in other years, but I think tomorrow night will be pretty fascinating as well, where we'll be here with you for hours and what Cleveland does to start off round 2.
Yeah, Blue, it was one of those main talking points entering tonight's 2025 NFL Draft, the first time ever in the common draft era, which dates all the way back to 1967. We entered draft night without a single first-round trade. All 32 NFL franchises, every single team maintained that original opening round pick. Entering tonight, we saw 4 first-round trades. Kev, as you look back on all 32 picks, what was your favorite of the night? Which one surprised you the most?
Most surprising pick was definitely Jahdae Barron at 20 to the Denver Broncos. All of the odds told us running back to start, maybe tight end via a trade up, maybe wide receiver. They had Hampton on the board. They had Henderson on the board. They must have not thought Jahdae Barron would fall to them. The odds were suggesting he would go inside that top 20, or they kept it close to the vest. So I give them a lot of credit for that. Sometimes when we try and tell people which picks we liked, we try and go way down the board. The New York Giants, Abdul Carter at 3. To me, the most can't-miss prospect in this class. Go through the last 10 years. Can't miss. Cannot miss edge rushers. They don't miss. That's still why Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson was insane, so that's why Jackson would be overcorrected with the Travis Hunter thing. For me, getting Abdul at 3 and then still the quarterback they wanted, it's a great night.
Yeah, for me, I have 2. 2 winners. Cam Ward for Tennessee. You have a face of the franchise. Yeah. But what Atlanta did, you talk about dominant edge rushers, you get 1, but two guys that can come in and be plug-and-play type of players with Walker and Pierce. I mean, that transforms that front 7. Very active motors coming from winning programs. Love what Atlanta did to give them an A+ overall. D- for Pittsburgh. I mean, that pick of Derek Harmon was absolutely atrocious. Mike Tomlin, this will be the nail in Mike Tomlin's coffin in terms of tenure at head coach. They screwed up the quarterback position not once. They did it last year. They did it again in the offseason by letting Justin Fields walk, and now they have to live with it. They're in quarterback purgatory.
26 of the 32 first-round picks hailing from either the Big Ten Conference or the SEC. 11 from the Big Ten, 15 from the SEC. I thought the biggest move of the night was the first move we saw in the 2025 NFL Draft. Jacksonville trading up to number 2 overall to draft the Heisman winner in Travis Hunter. How does he fit in Duval County? Frankly, on both sides of the football. That does it for our first round coverage, but we're all back tomorrow night starting at 7 p.m. Eastern for night number 2, rounds 2 and 3 on SportsGrid Draft Special.